What's up, guys? It's Dr. G. I hope everybody is doing great. So I know it's been about a week or two since I posted a video. It's because of my crazy schedule. As you guys know, I just got done with that ICU rotation, and then I went on Easter break, spent about 2 weeks at home with the kids, and just got kind of busy with family time and all. But anyway, here I am now. So I wanted to go ahead and just make this video just because it's been highly requested, and honestly, even before the video was requested, I was meaning to have it done. And this is a video about studying for USMLE Step 3. So in a previous video, I had talked about, those that are interested in either taking USMLE Step 3 before starting residency, should you or should you not do that? So I did make a video on that. But today I will be talking about my tips for studying for USMLE Step 3, how I passed it, what resources I use to study for it. And me personally, I took USMLE Step 3 while in residency, so still in my first year of residency. Speaking of first year of residency, I can't believe it, guys. It still feels surreal to me because we only have just a couple of months now, and then we'll be heading into PGY2, like second year of residency. So it's been an exciting year so far, but I promise you guys a video by the time first year is over. I will make more like a summary video telling you guys my entire experience in the first year, what my thoughts about the first year experience in residency, and then also moving forward to second year. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back and focus on why we're here today. I'm studying for USMLE Step 3 and the resources that I use for it. So first and foremost, guys, USMLE Step 3 does have two parts, right? So one is the main like MCQ, like the multiple choice questions that you see on the exam. And then the second part of the exam is the case scenarios. So these are like the cases where, they present you a case scenario of a patient, more like you managing a patient. What would you do as far as diagnosis, thinking of your differentials, ordering lab tests. So treatment, imaging, diagnosis, all of that good stuff. But so the CCS cases, or the case scenarios that you were presented with on USMLE Step 3 exam, these CCS cases are very important. You really want to do well on them just because I believe it's about 25% of your entire score. So imagine if you don't do well in it, what are the odds that you're actually going to score the entire 75% on the multiple choice questions to actually perform well? So it really, really, really pays off a lot for you to actually do a good job in the CCS portion of the exam. That being said, I will go ahead and talk about what I did to prepare for the multiple choice section of the exam, so the MCQ part of it, and then after that I will tell you guys like how I prepared for the CCS cases portion of the exam. So let's get started. So if you've gone through these USMLE Step series of exams, Step 1, Step 2, and then gotten to this point of Step 3, by now, believe it or not, you already know how to study for Step 3, okay? And the main resource when it comes to studying for Step 3 is actually UWorld. Like for me, there are two things that I use to study for USMLE Step 3. One was UWorld, so UWorld question bank, and then the other one was CCS cases, the questions themselves. But in hindsight, I still would have done well without it, just because I didn't have enough time. When I bought CCS cases, I was actually this was in my, like I said, still in the first few months of residency. So schedule was hectic. I had clinic, I had to be on call sometimes. I was still also inpatient. So going back to the resources, UWorld is your ultimate #1 resource when it comes to studying for USMLE Step 3. There is this book by Dr. Fisher, Conrad Fisher, Master the Boards for USMLE Step 3. I heard a lot of people say great things about the book. I actually bought it and I sort of flipped through it. I read through it like probably a few chapters or so, but I wouldn't really say that I spent so much time, with that textbook, just because the bulk of my studying was actually UWorld questions. So here's the thing, if you're in residency, you can still squeeze in a block of question a day, or at most you can squeeze in half a block of question. Your goal is actually to get through the entire question bank. I'll tell you guys this, I went through UWorld question bank for Step 3. I did 2 passes of that. I'm not one of those that are go through the entire question bank one time and boom, you got it. Because for me, honestly, I do have to go over it a second time. That's the way I know that I've definitely solidified the information in the questions. So if you feel comfortable, if you score pretty good your first time around, then it's probably no need for you to go again, do a second pass of it. But if you're like I am, neurotic about going a second pass with UWorld questions, I even know people that go more than the second second pass, but that'll be honestly like super crazy gunner style, like trying to go beyond 2 passes of UWorld. So I don't think that's really necessary. Again, your main thing is to try to get through the entire question bank. And guys, it's possible. It's honestly doable because it's only what, about 1,600 questions the last time I looked at it. So it's easy to get through that. If you're able to get through a block a day, that's awesome. But if you're not able to complete an entire block a day, so you can do 20 to 30 questions a day, that's still fine. But if you're not in residency, oh, honestly, there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to get through a block or 2 blocks a day of UWorld questions, you know. But again, you honestly don't need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to studying for step 3. I know I had read like a few blogs. I even watched other videos where people talked about how they study for step 3, and a lot of people will talk about how it's so much easier to study for step 3 when you're already in residency. But in my experience, I probably say it was a little tougher for me though, just because you have to still maintain your regular residency schedule and then also be able to carve out time to do these questions. So it wasn't hard as far as like the studying aspect of it, but it was hard when it came to like timing of it, because it's more like, okay, if I had a clinic that was like 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, so that basically means I have to wake up like earlier in the morning. Like sometimes I would actually go to bed really early. So say I get off the clinic at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. As soon as I got home, sometimes I'll try to eat dinner at work. That way, as soon as I got home, probably just take a shower and go straight to sleep, and then wake up around 9 o'clock and then study up until like 2 or 3 o'clock. So this was more of a routine for me for an entire month that I studied for USMLE Step 3. So again, like I said, if you're in residency, it's very much doable, but just keep in mind, you're gonna have to sacrifice something. And most times what you do stand to sacrifice is that sleep. A couple of passes of UWorld and boom, you got this thing slam dunk. You will be okay. So that being said, let's talk about the other portion, the CCS portion of the exam. Remember what I said, this portion is 25% of your score. So you do have to do well in it. So guys, thankfully, UWorld also has a CCS portion. My one big advice when it comes to doing CCS questions is you have to start early. You really have to start early to kind of familiarize yourself with the process. Also, I definitely recommend that you guys download, the practice questions that you have from the USMLE website. Guys, think about it. These are the folks that write the exam, right? So you want to see how these questions are presented. Not just the multiple choice. Here, I'm talking about the CCS cases. So these case scenarios, are you supposed to be treating pulmonary embolism? Do they have a case of COPD exacerbation or CHF exacerbation? And what rationale are they given for that? Practice, practice, practice. You might think you know how to manage DKA, but when they give you these CCS cases, remember, some of them are actually 10 minutes long and some are 20 minutes. The 10 minutes long cases, they go by so fast. Super fast, even on the exam. Honestly, I thought I failed the exam because when it came to the 10-minute cases, they would end so quickly. It's amazing how fast 10 minutes will go by. And when they say 10 minutes, you really don't have the entire 10 minutes to work on the case. Technically, you only have 8 minutes to work on it because the 2 minutes is more to look things over and basically wrap up your diagnosis, your treatment, all of that nonsense. So guys, practice, practice, practice. When it comes to studying for step 3, resource overload is not your friend. Forget about the sketchy, forget about the pathoma, forget even USMLE step 3, first aid, all the book, every textbook out there, guys. Listen, if you feel like you really have to read a book or have to go through a textbook for USMLE step 3, well, maybe pick up Master the Boards, okay? But like I said, from my experience, UWorld was the golden ticket to get this exam done. It was, and I did very well. I was super, super happy with my scores. You know what they say about USMLE Step 3. Most time, oh, the score doesn't matter. Just go ahead and pass. And which, yeah, in most cases, people really don't care that much when it comes to the score. But you never know, right? Because they say the scores really do count if you're trying to go into fellowship. So beyond residency, you're trying to go into fellowship, then those scores start to really matter. So for me, I was sort of on the fence when it came to going into fellowship or not. So I hadn't quite decided. So because I was in that indecisive state, hadn't decided if I was going to do fellowship or not, that made me put in a lot of effort into trying to get a good score in step 3, just because down the line, if I do decide to go into a fellowship, I don't want that to come back and haunt me, right? That's the thing. Even though right now I still can't even tell you guys if I'm trying to get into fellowship or not, just because chances are probably not, but who knows? You know what they say, never say never. So we'll see how that goes. In my experience, the benefit of studying with these question banks are it's an active form of learning, right? And that's the most beneficial kind too, because your brain is actively working. Oh, you got this question wrong. Okay, why did you get it wrong? You're reviewing it and knowing why you didn't get it questions wrong, or you repeatedly keep getting questions wrong and you just can't seem to understand why. That's when you go to these textbooks. But don't passively read these textbooks and waste all the little time that you have, instead of investing this time in question banks that, lends a more active form of learning. So that's it, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and stop here. If you're one of those studying for USMLE Step 3, I wish you guys the best. You go ahead, knock it out of the park, and I am confident you will do well. At the end of the day, all it takes is consistency and then practice with these questions, and I think you'll do well. Do not be intimidated by what people are saying out there. Oh, the questions have changed, they're even harder now, which I agree. So it's not new information, but it continues to evolve, of course, with, new evidence-based practice. And I wish you guys all the best. So do not forget to subscribe. Do not forget to hit that like button. I want to appreciate you guys so much for helping me grow this channel. We are continually growing, are doing so much better. I will continue to respond to you guys' comments. I'll continue to respond to your emails, your messages, and everything. And if you do have questions, by all means, do not hesitate. Reach out to me and I'll be happy to answer them for you guys. Until next time, guys, it's Dr. G. I hope you'll take care.